All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruurd Kuipers, and this is Sten Sedma. We are second and first year's bachelors, respectively. And this is a re-recording of the presentation that we did on Monday at Astronomy on Tap. We'll be talking a little bit about the Practical Astronomy Crew, or PAC for short. And we'll be talking a little bit about what the idea behind it is, what we do, and what sorts of projects that we're working with right now. So the idea behind PAC was started by Jake at the start of this year. He's the man in the middle of the picture. When some students were interested in doing activities outside of their normal program, they wanted to do some more practical projects next to the theory that we normally do. So it really is for people who want to be more engaged or want to learn something new outside of their program. It is also, for example, a place for you to meet other enthusiastic students and staff, because we do all sorts of different workshops where we meet and we learn new things, like let it be LaTeX or coding or something outside of the subjects or something new, or we do projects which we will talk about in a little bit, or for example conferences or other outreach events like this one, as well as there was the Series A telescope committee. Series A is the study association at Kaptein. Since the projects we're doing PAC is very similar, then PAC will be taking that over. So now Sten will talk a little bit about the workshops and the projects that we do.
Yes, thank you very much. So on a regular basis, we do some workshops. These vary on a wide range of topics. I have some examples here on how to reduce astronomical data, which is quite important. Building a graphical user interface with Python, which can be very useful, but also planning and organizing outreach events for astronomy. There is not really a guideline on what workshop we do, but it's just like if something is interesting or people want to know more about it, then we offer a workshop in it. For now, most of them have been organized by Jake. Usually it's a small presentation and then we work on the subject. But obviously we are also looking for other people who can organize workshops, so we don't have to rely on Jake for everything. And obviously a bit of variation is also nice. These workshops are not mandatory, and you can join them if you want. But they're very useful because, as I said, you have some practical some practical applications where you can use them for. Then the main thing for the Practical Astronomy Crew is doing practical projects, and as Ruurd said, it's the PAC offers an opportunity to do some actual practical projects relevant to astronomy and to our telescopes, which is not offered really outside of observational astronomy in the program. You can come up with your own projects and discuss them, or choose from a very large list of available projects. And we roughly have categorized them in 4 categories. So the first one is observations, and this is you actually using the telescope. So this can be the Blauw Observatory, but also we're looking to use the Dwingelo radio telescope, and possibly in the future also the telescope in Lauwersoog. But you can also use data which is publicly available from the Very Large Array, or in the future the James Webb Telescope, or any other data archives. And you can do projects with that, and also talk with some experts, or maybe people who have already used the data before, or you can just discuss it. Because you can access usually that data yourself, but now you have some help. Then we have some computer projects, which are usually tied to our own observatory. So one of them is one I am doing, and I will talk about that in a bit. And that's making observational archive and database. Then we also have an automated data reduction, which maybe observant listeners saw that there was also a workshop in this, and it's kind of tied together because we have a lot of data, but also a lot of it has to be reduced. Then we have some hardware projects as well. So someone is working on a spectroscope, for example, but there are also some projects available with the dome itself, so a dome control or some monitors or cameras inside there, etc. And finally, education is also a very important part. For example, the preparations for the observational astronomy class were available as projects for the pack, but it's also possible to make guides for stuff. For example, for IREF or potentially for Python or whatever. So people can actually use that, and also outreach related stuff, because a lot of members of the pack also usually help with outreach events like the Night of the Night or like open days, etc. So now Ruurd will give some insight on his project, which he is doing for the pack.
Yeah, thank you, Sten. I will be talking a little bit about the Zooniverse Project. Initially, I was planning to work on the VLAS projects a few months ago, but recently we haven't been able to work very much on it. So I'll be talking about the Zooniverse Project. The Zooniverse Project is an idea because over the course of 10 years we have collected a lot of data from the Blau Observatory, from bachelor students or master students. Over the course of 10 years you have collected quite a lot of astronomical useful data. The only problem is that with every time that you measure it, it is done individually, so you don't have really a structure to record all this data. A lot of it is actually still handwritten. So this data we then make online. We just read it and we set it online, and we try to identify all that raw data and then classify them. We'll be classifying them with tools like Python machine learning tools, which works by giving it a template initially. The program will learn how to use that template to classify other pieces of data. Then when we have classified all that data, then we can archive it into a big internet database called the Zooniverse Archives, which is where astronomers share all of their astronomical data for you to work with. There's a link here if you want to know any more about it. We can also put it in the YouTube link. And Sten will talk a little bit about his project.
Yes. So I mentioned it already earlier. So my project is to just essentially sitting on a computer. And so one part is like recognizing data, but also then to make it searchable. And that is actually my project then, to make to allow people to actually use this data based on what is already available. So, for example, at the moment, it is stored on a computer. It is available for people access to the Cryptine network, but it's sorted on date based on when the observation has been done. Which you can imagine, if you want to search for anything else, you have to go through this whole directory structure, open all the files, and then look at them to recognize if you want to use it. So this is where the idea comes from, is to actually read all the files, like for more specifically the metadata of the files, or the headers, which they're officially called, which includes information like position, when the observation has been taken, where the telescope points to when the observation has been taken, which camera was used, the air mass, like all kinds of information, except from the actual data itself, because that's quite large and it's not very efficient to store in a database. So it's just the information about the observation and not the actual observation. So the current solution is to make a database which has this information, and then to make this available through a web page, but also through a Tap server. So that is how users will then be able to access this information. As I'm working on it, I have some examples of essentially other databases or example databases which work similarly. So I have here to the right, I have a example of how the web interface could look like. So here you can enter a position or a name of an object, and then your search radius, and then click on go, and then you get a list of all the observations which have been made in our database, or in the catalog, or whatever it is connected to. So you can actually look at the data. If we like connect the file names to it, then you can actually get the data yourself. This is relatively easy to use if you know what you're searching for. So for example, if you have a software tool called Topcat, that's actually an example I have here, you can make a query using that. It will directly load that into the software, the data which you gathered, and then directly plot that on the sky, or use any other of the available tools inside Topcat, because that's why it exists. It's actually for doing stuff with catalog data. But this is obviously not the only software available. You can use Python or any other programming language which is your favorite. So it offers a lot of flexibility for automation as well, which is a great thing in my opinion. So yeah, that was basically my project, or is basically my project. I'm currently working on it, and hopefully we'll be finishing it soon. And Ruurd will be having some last words.
Interested in that, you can always just contact us. We also have some more active spots open if you're interested to be more actively part of this group. We would, for example, like a workshop chair or a conference chair who helps us organize these events. And we also have Dingalo telescope training, which we are planning to set up for anyone who's interested in learning to work with that. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for your attention. And if you have any questions, you can always just contact us.